I want you to listen real carefully to the smooth, dulcet, harmonic sounds of... Wow, that's a loud, annoying sound, isn't it? It's a noisemaker. Happy New Year! So, I figured with New Year's Eve coming up, who makes stuff for New Year's Eve? But I'm gonna make something, well, actually I already did make something. This is a really annoying sound if you hadn't already figured it out, but it's a ratchet noisemaker. It's also called a rattle. Lewis Carroll actually wrote about this in Through the Looking Glass, where Tweedledum breaks Tweedledee's rattle, and it's not a baby rattle, it's one of these. It's also called a watchman's rattle. Going way, way back, it's also called a grogger, used for the Jewish holiday of Purim. And, of course, at sporting events, to really make an annoyance of yourself among the other people around you. So, it was either this or a vuvuzela, and I really don't know how to make a vuvuzela, even though it's more fun to say than, a ratchet noisemaker. But anyways, let me show you what we're dealing with here. Okay, so here's a closer look at my rattle. Now, what it is I used one piece of wood. I actually had a longer piece of wood. You're going to want to use hardwood for this. I made mine out of oak. I think maple would be a good choice. I think a softwood, this little clacker board, which is real thin, I have a feeling it would probably break or splinter off. So you've got a gear in here that as you turn it, you can see what's happening here. It just hits this little clacker board and makes a noise. So all you need is a single piece of wood. It could really be any length you want it to be, and you can use that same wood for making this gear, which is really simple to make. And you need 3 different size of dowels. I'm going to start by making the gear, and I've got a board that I'm going to use, and I'm going to be using my hole saw. This is the same hole saw I bought to make those bracelets with. I suppose you could use just about any size you want. But what I want to do first is I just want to bring it down enough to where I can just scratch a mark into this board. Like that. So now what I can do is connect this point with that point. Like so. And I'll do it for this way also. And that'll show me where to drill holes. Now I've got a smaller bit in my drill press, and I'm just going to drill through all the way through each of those points that I marked. I've put the hole saw back into my drill press, and I'll just cut it all the way through. Next, all I've done is I've installed another bit. This one's a little bit bigger because I need to make this hole a little bit bigger to accept the rod that is going to hold it all together. Now I've got a length of 3/4 inch oak. I don't know, it's about 18 inches long or so. And I've got a straight bit set up in my router. So I'm just going to slowly start cutting grooves this way, flipping it over, going that way, to ease down the center section of this, but not go all the way through. And I have a stop block set up over here to where I can stop at the same point each time. Now I've raised up the bit and I can cut all the way through, and I'm going to stop when I reach that line. I'm going to cut out this center section. I just want to run my bandsaw along one edge and then the other. You get the idea. Alright, well that worked out pretty well. I've got my clacker board there. The only problem is you can tell that I've got this rounded area there where the router bit went through. So I need to square that up. So I think I'm just going to put a board under there, and I'll just try to square it up with a chisel. There we go. So now I've got this nice square edge on there, and I can actually sort of test it out. I'm kind of curious what it's going to sound like. Hey, not bad. going to put this gear all the way in there, and I'm still going to cut this down a little bit smaller, but for now I just want this butted all the way up against there so I could drill a hole through this framework. But first I want to take this out, and also I'm going to put a little spacer in here just to kind of hold this together while I'm drilling that hole. So that hole that goes all the way through is bigger than my dowel. I just actually took a rasp and just widened it up a little bit. I probably could have used a bigger drill bit. But anyways, I just want that to be able to swing freely. Now it's going to go onto, of course, the gear, and that I want to just maintain the tight fit because that's going to spin, obviously. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get a good fit. In other words, I'm putting the dowel through both pieces. Let me show you what's happening here. Okay, so pushing it through that gear. Okay, that's sounding good, but the problem is it's too tight. When I come back, it just doesn't work. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. That's why I put the hole over this way, so that I could just start cutting down that clacker smaller and smaller until it gets to be the exact length that I need it to be. What I'm doing now is I've got a 3/4 inch piece of dowel, and I'm just putting a hole right down the center of it. Now I'm just boring a very shallow hole into a shorter piece of that 3/4 inch dowel. Now what I need to do is I have put a small, I guess it's a 1/4 inch bit into my drill bit, and I'm going to line up this gear here. I'm going to clamp it to my fence. And what I need to do is I need to drill this hole all the way through the center and then out the other side. Alright, now I've got all the pieces cut down to size. This is cut down to the length that I wanted it to. And one thing I did is, you'll notice I put in a little block right up here where these two pieces extend out, because what I was noticing was that they were actually kind of pulling in, they were kind of collapsing in, and it was making this bind a little bit. So, and I actually kind of like the way that this all, closes up there. The last thing I did for this is done, is I rounded over all of the edges just to give it a nice smooth feel, and I sanded everything down really nicely. So now to assemble it, I need to put the gear in the middle and run this rod through about like that, and this is the handle which will go on like so, and the little cap which will fit like that. So now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and figure out exactly where these go, put a little glue here, and then I'll put glue on this and glue those two pieces down, let that dry before I get started on that pin. So remember, the handle and the cap are glued on, but the axle isn't glued to the gear. It's just kind of a pressure fit in there, and I'm afraid that that's going to get loose over time. So what I'm going to do is just go into that hole that I've already pre-drilled, and I'm just going to drill a hole through that center axle, and now I just blew off my little axle piece. But anyways, this little 1/4 inch dowel I will stick all the way through that center axle like that, and I can glue it on in. Now that that glue is dry, I've just sanded down that side and that side. There we go. And that's the completed rattle. It's all done. I suppose you could put a finish on it if you wanted to, but I didn't put any kind of finish on mine. I'm afraid that it would just kind of wear off of here. I suppose I could paint this a bright color or something like that. I could get creative with it, but for now, that's good enough. Anyways, boy, I just can't get over how loud that is. It is really a loud sound. So, and hey, if you make it before Christmas, you can give it to your kids, and they can come into your bedroom on Christmas morning when you're sound asleep. and wake you up, huh? Anyways, think about it for New Year's Eve, you know. It's a simple project to make. You can put the thing together in a couple of hours, all right? Thanks for watching. Actually, I have more information on the Ratchet on my website, which I'll be writing about. I got some really cool pictures from Through the Looking Glass with this very rattle in there. So visit that. That's at woodworkingformeremortals.com. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later.